everyone. It is 10:01 on October 14th. I will call to order the Bismarck-Mandan MPO Technical Advisory Committee, and we'll begin with roll call.
Ben Arith.
Here.
Dan Shriak.
Here.
Deidre Hughes. Chris Holzer.
Here.
John Sackey.
Here.
Andrew Strami.
Here.
Jarek Wigness. Greg Fazer.
Here.
Mitch Flanagan.
Here.
Natalie Pierce. Dean Schloss.
Here.
Wayne Zacher.
Here.
Chair Lukashevsky.
Here. Item number 1 on the agenda is review and possible approval of the minutes. What are the wishes of the board?
This is Ben. I'll move to approve as presented.
Thanks, Ben. I have a first. Is there a second?
I'll second.
Thanks, Chris. Roll call.
Ben Arith.
Yes.
Dan Shriak.
Yes.
Chris Holzer.
Yes.
John Sackey.
Yes.
Andrew Strami.
Yes.
Greg Fazer.
Yes.
Mitch Flanagan.
Yes.
Dean Schloss.
Yes.
Wayne Zacher.
Yes.
Chair Lukashevsky.
Yes, minutes are approved. Item 2 on the agenda is consideration of the Bismarck-Mandan MPO monitoring report update solicitation.
Thank you, Rachel. Give me one moment and I will share screen. All right, so Exhibit A in your packets, or page 9, is an invitation for bids for the MPO has prepared an invitation for bids to update its monitoring report. So our monitoring report provides a comprehensive understanding of existing conditions and recent trends which influence transportation within the MPO area. So this document provides the public and our jurisdictions with statistics on people, housing, employment, and travel. It has been over 5 years since we were last able to update the report. So MPO staff is planning to hire a consultant for the 2025 budget year to update the data and format of this report. As part of this project, the MPO will also be evaluating whether future monitoring report updates would be best handled through a regular consultant contract or through in-house staff training. So the intent of the update is to provide the public and our jurisdictions with a relevant, educational, accessible, and interesting resource to complement the MPO's existing studies and projects. So I will note that this project has a not-to-exceed budget of $40,000. If the update is approved, the project will be incorporated into our 2025 Unified Planning Work Program, and the MPO will proceed with solicitation, selection of a consultant, and contract negotiations as outlined in Exhibit A on your screen. So for small purchases of $10,000 to $50,000, procurement standards require us to solicit proposals or bids from at least 3 vendors. We have at least 6 local consultants that we will be soliciting for the project. And we will select a firm based on relevant project criteria, and I will just, that is outlined in section C, which is selection and approvals. Bids on the project will be due to our office by November 6th, 2024. The MPO would intend to execute a contract with the selected firm by early 2025 and complete the project before the end of 2025. And I will be serving as project manager for this update. Are there any questions from the board on this?
Steven, this is Wayne.
Yes, Wayne.
I guess I still have the same concerns I did the last time a few months ago when this was emailed to me. I know the UPWP is coming up, but that's one of again, trying to match up the contract exactly with the UPWP contract and everything else, it's really gonna be difficult. And so I have some concerns with this, with the timing of it anyway.
Thanks, Wayne. It's something that the MPO staff will be monitoring as we go through our UPWP.
But what I'm getting at is because we can't sign anything until it's in there and until we have that signed contract and so on. So again, it's more than just monitoring the cost. It's timing and everything else. And so it just that's where I'm sitting at. So
We'll make sure it's clear to anyone who's bidding on the project that any contract won't be able to start until the first of the year.
okay, again, and I know you're aware, Rachel. It's more than just the first of the year because again, it's the availability of those federal funds. Again, that's what we're shooting for, but we have to have those funds authorized. So nailing down a date is next to impossible right now.
I think that might be something for DOT and MPO to talk about offline because it also impacts the ability of MPO staff to do work in the first of the year. But I think regardless if the MPO staff is not able to work, we wouldn't be directing our consultants to do work either. So I think that we'll be open and honest with any proposing persons about the situation for funding and the parameters around the contract. If something materializes from the consultant's end regarding that, we'll be sure to bring that forward to Fed Highway and DOT for further consideration.
Rachel, I maybe missed it, but can you kind of point us where a start date is identified in the scope of work? Is a start date identified?
No, not a definite start date. We know that it has to be within the 2025 Unified Planning Work Program, so we were basing it basically on availability of
Sure.
federal funds and the timeline of the contract and such.
Yeah, and so I'm assuming Wayne's concern over availability of funds can be worked through when a contract is being developed with a potential vendor. Is that your understanding as well?
I would think so, and we can also make a disclaimer and bold it within the solicitation, the parameters of when the contract will start.
Okay, thank you. I had one more question. Thanks for presenting this. I thought it was a well-written proposal. And again, I might have missed this too, so my apologies if I did, but is there an anticipation of like a reoccurring update to this, to the monitoring report? And if so, what type of update cycle were you kind of thinking about?
That's part of the scope of work for the project,
Okay.
is working with the consultant on the best plan for us moving forward. So yeah, it may be, it is mentioned in the proposal that we're open to either. But yeah, we're kind of going to be determining that over the course of the project, like what is feasible for our office.
Okay, thank you.
Are there any additional questions on the invitation for bids? If there are none, we'll take motion for consideration of the invitation for bids.
This is Ben. I would so move.
Thank you, Ben. I have a first. Is there a second?
Chair Lukaszewski, I'll second that.
Thank you, Andrew. Roll call.
Ben Arith,
Yes.
Dan Shriak,
Yes.
Chris Holzer,
Yes.
John Sackey,
Yes.
Andrew Strami,
Yes.
Greg Fazer,
Yes.
Mitch Flanagan,
Yes.
Dean Schloss,
Yes.
Wayne Zacher,
Yes.
Chair Lukaszewski.
Yes, motion passes. Item 3 on the agenda is consideration of the draft 2025 Unified Planning Work Program. This is Exhibit B in the packet. I'll share that on my screen. And then I also have 2 handouts that I provided for the board members. Since this was included in the packet, there's been a few revisions to the financial expectations for our 2025 work program. And I'll highlight those items when we get to those. And I can also share them on my screen. All right. So Exhibit B starts on page 17 of the packet. So if the board members are familiar with prior versions of our UPWP, you'll note that the format and the structure of this UPWP is quite different than what we've done in the past. Federal Highway has been reviewing our UPWP for a few years, and they've been suggesting and requesting additions and revisions to our document to make it more in line with federal code. So I've been reviewing those and over time incorporating more and more as I have been able to. And with this current UPWP, staff found that it would be advantageous for us to streamline our UPWP, and instead of having several different task areas, which staff need to monitor their time within, track time, and then track budget for, if we are able to reduce the number of tasks that we use within our organization and the way that we organize our time, we'll be able to move through and execute the work program more effectively. Starting on page 19 of the packet, one of the first major changes that we've made to the document is to include an adopting resolution. And I modeled our resolution off of a similar resolution for the Grand Forks, East Grand Forks MPO. And it outlines very broadly the basic elements of a UPWP and the responsibilities that locals, the MPO, and state and federal partners have to the federal funds. So you'll note that there's a 20% local match provision, as well as some highlights of how our UPWP acts within our organization. Should this version of the UPWP be accepted by TAC and Policy Board, the Policy Board Chair would sign this with a date of adoption, and a date of approval, and then I would attest. Additionally, we have added into the text portions of the UPWP a listing of the members of our MPO boards, both for TAC as well as the Policy Board. We did prefer just to leave this as a sort of a job description level, not including individual names. That way, should a name need to change, we don't have to go through revising the UPWP. But this is considered a best practice by the federal government. Additionally, we listed out our TAC and Policy Board meetings for the coming year with a list of times when those meetings occur. The remaining portions of the document have been updated to reflect the future 2025 year, such as adding in things that we've accomplished for the last year, things that we're looking forward to in the new year. The federal planning factors have not changed, and neither have the federal performance goals. We continue to list out, based on the 2025 projects, how they relate to the federal performance goals. And I did update the timeline table for our Metropolitan Transportation Plan update. Since we're coming to the close of our MTP, it's appropriate for us to look towards the next MTP and list out the future steps for that update. We continue to list how we are striving to meet the federal planning emphasis areas. And I made a slight revision to the UPWP amendment guidance to include the federal code that governs how and how we are allowed to modify or amend a UPWP. So it's tying that back to the federal code a little more tightly. However, we still retain the wording from prior UPWPs where our threshold of a modification versus an amendment is 10% of the annual amount of our grant. That is our CPG grant. I'm sorry, so to clarify, a funding amount that is less than 10% will be changed through a modification, and we'll make the boards, NDDOT and Fed Highway and Fed Transit aware of that at the next board meeting. An amount that is at 10% or above, we will go through and document the exact change and present that for the board's consideration through an amendment. These are typical elements for the UPWP, so I will now address for you how we've changed the tasks, or how we've broken out the ways in which we track our time and the ways in which we track our monies. Our first task, or Task 101, will be exclusive to administration. The funding associated to Task 101 will be all staff wages and benefits. Within this task, I've also listed out the basic objectives of the MPO, which are to create an MTP, to create a TIP, and to create a UPWP, and to maintain these as needed or as regulated by the federal government. This language comes directly from our amended bylaws, which were amended last month. We also list out several tasks that the MPO staff does throughout the year. This is intended to be an exhaustive but generalized list. So we're not trying to list out every possible activity that MPO staff could do, but all activities that would typically occur within a calendar year. And this list will be reviewed every UPWP cycle to ensure that the list is current and accurate. So you can see we have several items listed, such as update of the MTP, the TIP, the UPWP, working with our transportation studies, working with transit, preparing office documents, and then general staff actions. I've also included a general timeline of when our major documents will be updated. And you'll note that for the transportation studies, we are shooting to have RFPs out in the summertime, with contract negotiations in the fall time, for contract start dates to be as soon as the first of the year, and then remaining elements to be determined per the planning study. And as we are able to move through using the annual grant, we become more proficient at using the annual grant. I imagine that we'll be able to adjust this timeline for when we start the contract negotiations on studies. We'll have a better understanding of how we spend down funds, and we may not need to be so prescribed about this process. And hopefully that will address some of the concerns by NDDOT with regards to when we start and end our planning studies. The second task is called Professional Services, Vendors, or Consultants. This is previously similar to our planning studies and data acquisitions item. Any type of transportation planning project that we do that must be contracted to another firm would fall into this area. So there is no staff time dedicated to Task 102. It is simply the federal funds and by proxy the local funds that go towards those contractual obligations. So we have listed out the projects that we expect to close this year, the projects that we expect to complete this year, and then projects that we expect to carry on into 2025. The next table is one that we have included in past UPWPs, although it is a newer element, and it is to outline each of the expected projects for 2025, provide a short description, and then provide targeted start and end dates. We also call out any item with an asterisk in this column, so the safety policies study, and I think that's the only one we have listed here, will be eligible or is expected to be eligible to use the complete streets set aside, which is a 2.5% of our annual grant. Additionally, and I thank you again for helping me prepare this next table, I've listed out potential future projects that we may consider doing in the future. I've listed a suggested year if that year is very obvious. The obviousness would come from a routine update that's required by federal regulation, or that we've received expressed interest from one of the local jurisdictions that they're interested in pursuing a particular study for a certain year. However, we do not want to suggest to you that these are the studies that must be done in this year. They're simply suggestions, and we wanted to be able to have something of an idea of what might come in future years, and that way when we are working on RFPs or contract negotiations prior to the first of the year, we are still letting the public know that this project might be coming. And that was a concern by NDDOT, so we're able to cover that concern here. The third task is called Capital, Operational, and Travel Expenses. So just to recap, we've looked at staff time and benefits. We've looked at transportation studies or outsourced items, things that aren't paid directly to anyone in the MPO. And now we're looking at all of the expenses that our office has throughout the year that may be associated to traveling, training, rental expenses, or supply needs. This is also the area that includes subscriptions. For the last few months, we've had quite a lot of discussion on whether or not the MPO will participate with the Government Partners Program, and that is considered a subscription-based activity. So the $6,000 total sum is categorized under Task 103, and I'll show you where that is in our budget in a few minutes. Overall, this task is divided out into 4 sections. The basic sections, as I mentioned, are rental spaces, so rental of our office space, parking space, the costs associated with our portions of electric or snow removal that we participate on with the City of Bismarck. Another area would be lodging and travel expenses. So anytime that MPO staff attends a conference, the associated expenses would go to this second area. Office operations, paper supplies, paper clips, this type of thing. And then number 4 is office supplies. Although I have adjusted this, it's not available on your screen, but it is available in what I may eventually send to Fed Highway and DOT for their final consideration, that this item number 4 is called Office Supplies and Subscriptions. We previously had a very small budget for subscriptions. It was about $120 annually, and so I didn't find that it was a large enough item to name a section after, but since the go-ahead to pursue attendance with the Government Partners Program, I felt that it was something that sort of rose to the top a little more, and I felt it was appropriate to adjust the name of this section, Office Supplies and Subscriptions. And then we do have a note that any capital purchases will be conducted in accordance with appropriate procurement policies that are set forth by City of Bismarck and NDDOT. The fourth and final task is dedicated to our use of complete streets. Complete Streets funding, we have federally mandated for us to spend and track 2.5% of our CPG grant on Complete Streets eligible activities. And as I was trying to parse out the easiest way for us to share that information with the public and then to follow up on that within our staff processes, I found that Complete Streets is actually allocated both to staff time, which is a Task 101, as well as to our transportation studies, which is a Task 102. But even within our studies, we might have multiple studies with multiple match partners, and so it was not a very easy task for me to try and break out the usage of Complete Streets within Task 101 or within Task 102. So although we will be expending Complete Streets funds in those two tasks, I've dedicated Task 104 to be kind of a clearinghouse for how the MPO plans to spend all of that funding. This way we can give a clear picture to the public, to our oversight, and be able to monitor it ourselves so that we know where this 2.5% is going, where we intend it to go, and we don't have to be comparing multiple task areas. So that's why this area is called tracking only. It means that we're displaying the funds, we're describing how they're going to be used, but we're not, because our staff or our studies will already be using that money, we can't track the money twice. We can't spend the money twice. And so this is the way I found it easiest to show it without giving the impression that we're spending it doubly. So those are our 4 task areas. We also have 2 tables to show where our funds come from, and then also an estimate of how much money we are expected to spend by the end of the year. Based on our current estimates, we will have just under $20,000 left of our federal grant at the end of the year. And now what I would like to share with you is the handout that I provided. And this is likely the most important page for you and your commission councils. This is our UPWP budget. You'll recall from past years that the UPWP funds were sort of discussed in multiple areas. It was maybe a little difficult to understand exactly what your local match was or where to find that. So I consolidated all of the financial elements onto one page. And what you'll see on the version, you have 2 papers. One has red letters and this one has no red letters. This is the cleaned version. You'll see that we have at the top our overall budget for 25, a breakout of the federal and local shares, and then how much of that money is being requested of each of the jurisdictions for 2025. We have a breakout of the funds for Task 101, staff benefits and wages. In this task, the only local partner is the City of Bismarck. In Task 102, we have a list of our expected planning studies, consultants, and vendors with the breakout of the funds for those. You'll note that each project is divided differently on its local portions, and I tried to provide a little bit more context under the notes for how that local portion is being divided. If there is no note, it means that all partners are participating on the standard percentages, and those percentages were adopted by Tech and Policy Board several months ago. They're based off of population that is determined by the census. So if there's no number here, no text here, it means that you are following your percentage at the top of Task 102.
Rachel, can you show the table that
Yeah.
you're showing in the room? We can't see it online.
Oh, thanks, Wayne. I didn't know that. Yes, thank you for letting me know. You can't see it online. Has it come up now, Wayne?
Got it, thank you.
Great, thanks. Let me know if it's not very readable online, and I can adjust the size. So for Wayne and members online, at the top is the total local portions, total federal portions. We have Task 101, Task 102, and then here is the area where I give more detail to how that local match is broken apart. If the project is expected to use complete streets, I have noted it in this last column. So moving on, we have task 103, and then you'll see here I have updated that fourth and final line, office supplies and subscriptions, to account for the additional funds required to participate in Government Partners Program. In my next sharing, I'll explain where the Government Partners money is coming from, because I did have to take it from other areas of our budget, and I want you to be aware of those changes. And then finally, and then you'll see that with regards to task 103, it's only under that subscription that the 4 remaining jurisdictions are providing local match. As it is now for the 2025 expenditure, I did break it out by the standard population-based breakout. If we find that there's a jurisdiction that chooses not to participate, and we can find a partner who's willing to take on that missing amount, we can adjust these local amounts with a modification in the future. It is far easier for me to address government partners prior to the adoption of the UPWP than to explain it and document it after the fact, after the UPWP is approved at the federal level. So these local matches are subject to change pending review and consideration by local councils. And finally, task 104, here we have $4,000 set aside for staff, associated time on complete streets, and then just over $15,000 set aside for complete streets associated to our studies, data acquisitions, vendors, consultants. So this is the cleaned version of our proposed 2025 budget. On this page, I will very briefly share with you where that government partners funds are being used or being seconded from. Up here in the top, what I call amendment summary, we are transferring almost $4,000 from ATAC modeling. This was a line item that had about $20,000 from it, and the local partners were Bismarck and Mandan. So you can see that of that $4,000, there are slight deductions to the requested local match on that line item for those local partners. We also took a little over $2,000 out of staff associated travel and training expenses, and that is in task 103. We reduced this line item by about 25% to accommodate the remaining need. And then because the participation is considered a subscription, we transferred that $6,000 into office supplies and subscriptions from $2,300 now to what is on your cleaned page, $8,300. And then in blue, I'm providing what this line item will look like once it's approved. So the intention is that we don't want to keep an accounting of every single change through time that happens to the UPWP. I'll have a copy of this in our UPWP modification or amendment portions on the website, but when and if you see a modification in the future, you'll simply see these cleaned blue lines in the table to keep it readable and keep to make the funds more understandable. So with that, I thank you for allowing me time to really dive into the UPWP and explain those changes, to introduce you to the new budget sheet. This is the sheet that you should go to if your commissioner councils want to know how much is being requested of your offices for the future year. And if there are any changes over time to our budget, it will be reflected in this sheet, which we will keep updated on our website. With that, I'm happy to take any comments or questions that you have about the UPWP. We did have this reviewed by state and federal partners. We did receive back some comments, and I've tried to address them with Federal Highways. And Federal Transit said that they had no further comments after those were addressed. Any questions or concerns?
So is this the final or is this the draft? Is this being sent out again as a draft?
This would be considered the final draft, so if approved at both boards, it will be sent to DOT and Fed Highway for their consideration to make final upon their approval.
I saw a couple typo things in there, so I'll get through it today and send it to you.
Great, great. If there are any additional changes between now and the final approval, I can share those with the board in a month or two when they're approved.
Chair Lukaszewski,
Yes.
one comment I have, I'm trying to find the page in here with the projected future studies to be done. I believe the Hay Creek study showed Mandan as a partner. I think that might need to be Burley, possibly.
Okay.
And then there was a study identified for 40th Avenue. And if I recall, we're interested in 40th Avenue Southeast in the Lakewood area. And I think it was notated as Northeast, perhaps inadvertently. So I don't believe I had any other questions, though.
Okay, so 40th should be 40th Avenue Northeast.
Should be Southeast. I think
Southeast,
it's
not
listed as
Northeast.
Northeast, yeah.
Okay.
Thank you.
Thank you for that.
Rachel, as long as you went back into the document up on page 2
2 of the document.
of your 22 of the document, it's the page that has the UPWP or the board dates.
Board dates, yes. Thank you.
In here, down one more. There's a couple instances where instead of the UPWP, it's UWPW.
Oh,
Scroll down a little bit. It's at the bottom of that, right there, above by August, right there by your cursor, and then in the paragraph below it as well.
yes. Okay, I'll do a word search on that and change it.
Then when you're showing that the table separately, you had two studies identified using complete street funds, but in the document you only have one.
Right, I think the traffic counts did not get an asterisk, and I will add the asterisk to traffic counts.
Then, so and I don't have a problem with the document, but just as you're going through and we had talked about I know you got to the study pages or future studies, that type of thing. As you're getting ready for RFP process, just keep in mind that the studies really should be in an approved UPWP before we even start looking at the RFP process. So I know you have them listed, but make sure that gets updated if you're gonna start wanting to get RFPs out, and so that we can at least point to it and say, yep, it's preparation for this. It's identified, it's using these funds. We need to make sure that we have some of those assurances as well, so. With your timeline, you had talked about doing the RFPs the summer prior to the year you're actually gonna do the study.
Right, We find it laborsome and also risky to be promoting planning studies that cross over a calendar year, because unless the study or project uses an exact amount of funds fully, we are at risk of losing the remaining portion, or that portion has to come out of something that's associated to staff.
I completely understand, but
And
at the same time, we can't be soliciting a project that's not in the UPWP, in an approved UPWP.
and so we will try our best to make sure that we're meeting that threshold that you're wanting. If this table is not sufficient, we will make sure that our processes are changed. But we need to reiterate to DOT and Fed Highway that we have very serious concerns about being able to roll these studies out in a way that's equitable to our partners and our consultants.
So how are you going to, what happens if you don't get say the funds go away, but the RFP is already out on the streets? Then again, so then the consultants have that sitting there as well in their minds that, well, you solicited the project, so now you're not going to give it out. So that's the other risk that's sitting there. But we need to make sure that those funds, when you're sending that RFP out, we need to make sure that those funds are going to be there for that study, or at least plan to be in that approved UPWP.
If we're at risk of not having funds for a planning study, then I would ask DOT to advocate for us with Fed Highway to remove the criteria that we must spend the grant down within 1 year. We're
That's
trying to
not
do
going
this
away,
to
Rachel.
manage that.
But we
and-
need to have it in an approved UPWP. The studies prior to that RFP going out. So again, I'm saying that if it's in here, I'm taking these suggested years as it's going to be in that UPWP for that timeline, and I'm thinking I can work with this in order to say, okay, we can send the RPO because we're prepping for next year. But if it's not even on this list, I don't know if I can approve a UPWP or an RFP to go out in that process.
and staff recognizes that. I don't think we would want to promote a project that's not on this list.
Okay, that's all I'm pointing out is to make sure that this list is updated as you're going through and prior to these RFPs going out.
Thank you. Further comments or questions?
I guess maybe I had a question, Rachel, in response to this last discussion. This is a pretty substantive change compared to how all the MPOs adopted UPWPs in the past and budgeted. There was two-year budgets that were adopted in the UPWP. This is going to a fairly substantive change, and understand there's some concerns and discussions going on both, on multiple sides here. So I think it seems like it's a work in progress, and we're probably all learning through this process together. But maybe it's a question for Wayne, given some of the concerns that were raised. Is it a matter of, and maybe the issue's addressed, but is it a matter of when the UPWP annually gets adopted in the preceding year that would help alleviate some of your concerns, or maybe they're already alleviated by some of the clarification Rachel provided?
Yes and no, and we've talked, and we never said you couldn't do a 2-year UPWP. We suggested that the 2-year UPWP still continue, but we would only fund the first year. But Rachel has decided that Bismarck-Mandan MPO did not want to do a 2-year UPWP, so that's where we're at. And my point is I need something to say that we're committed to doing these studies before those RFPs are going out, something that's approved.
Okay, and so I guess worst case scenario, we'd potentially have to do a UPWP amendment prior to a study being released for RFP. Is that kind of how I'm understanding it, if it's not in the approved RFP, or if in the approved UPWP?
That's how I would suggest it, Ben. Again, we're willing to work with you, trying to figure out the best way, but we need to have something, because I don't know if we're going to get into trouble if we end up sending RFPs out and it's nowhere to be found. I mean, all of a sudden, then we send an RFP out, and what happens if we forget to put it in the next year's UPWP. We need to have something in there that's approved to say, yes, we're gonna be spending these funds or anticipate spending these funds for that study. And I know that the funds are, it's that catch 22, I get it, but we need to have something that's approved in order before we can go out to an RFP. In my mind.
Okay, thank you.
Well, thank you for the discussion and the notes, Wayne. We will be sure to make sure that any RFP is included in the UPWP prior to solicitation. Are there any final thoughts or points for consideration on the UPWP? If there are no points for consideration, would there be a motion from the board to recommend approval?
This has been, so there were a number of recommended changes. I think Wayne had a few of them. Andrew noted a couple from a funding, local matching funding partner perspective. I think you noted a couple changes, Rachel, and then also I think the matrix of projects that was presented, I think it's the intention that gets incorporated with the UPWP as well. Is that correct?
Yes, correct.
This document,
Yes,
yeah.
the newer version will be incorporated.
So I would move approval with all of those changes recommended for incorporation into the final draft UPWP.
Thank you, Ben. I have a first. Is there a second?
Second that.
Thank you, Andrew. Roll call?
Van Aerith,
Yes.
Dan Shriak,
Yes.
Chris Holzer,
Yes.
John Stacky,
Yes.
Andrew Strami,
Yes.
Greg Fazer,
Yes.
Mitch Flanagan,
Yes.
Dean Schloss,
Yes.
Wayne Zacher,
Yes.
Chair Lukashevsky.
Yes, motion is passed. Item 5 on the agenda is a progress update on the Arrive 2050 MTP with Jason Carby. Go ahead, Jason.
Hey, everyone. Yeah, so right now we are in the draft document review phase with the public. Comment period is open until next week, October 23rd. We are preparing an executive summary and slides for the upcoming commission presentations and approvals. I know Rachel's got those all scheduled. And so we're getting those slides together this week. Rachel's reviewing kind of the executive summary, thought that would be helpful, for to put in the packet so everybody could kind of see a very high level version of the MTP document. And then also preparing for the DOT management meeting a week from Friday. That'll be the 25th. Thanks, Wayne, for getting that all set, and I will be there. We'll get slides are coming together for that. So. Yeah, and then we are preparing to kind of have a refined version, a little bit more graphically oriented version of the final document together. We'll be putting that together after the public comment period closes.
Were you gonna send me draft slides, Jason? Or
Yeah,
send
I'll get them to you here in the next couple of days, Wayne.
Okay, thank you.
We got a good working version together. I just want to make sure we cover every detail we need to.
Thanks, Jason. Are there any additional questions? I don't see any. Thank you,
Okay.
Jason.
Thanks all.
Item 7 on the agenda.
Rachel, we skipped 4. We need to do your safety policy study one.
Oh, thanks, Stephen. I appreciate that. Moving back, item 4 is the 2025 safety policy study. And handed out to you was the QBS notice of process letter. I'd like to let the board know that the MPO held interviews for the 2025 safety policy study last week, Thursday, on the 10th. And we interviewed 2 firms, Bolton & Mank and SRF. The selection committee consisted of all 5 jurisdictions, a member from all 5 jurisdictions, and I presided as moderator. The results were very close, but the committee did promote SRF for the project, and the MPO staff would like to request approval of SRF for the project, as well as approval of MPO staff to proceed with contract negotiations and to execute that contract after review by legal counsel and approval by NDDOT. I can take any questions you have about the interview or the selection process. Seeing none, just to note, the QBS letter is included for information. It indicates that the MPO staff used proper processes for the selection. And with that, is there a motion to approve SRF and approve MPO staff to proceed and execute a contract?
And move to
This
approve.
is Dan. I so moved.
Thanks, Dan. I'll take you as a first. And is there a second?
I'll second.
Thank you, Andrew. Roll call, please.
Ben Arith,
Yes.
Dan Shriak,
Yes.
Chris Holzer,
Yes.
John Sackey,
Yes.
Andrew Strami,
Yes.
Greg Fazer,
Yes.
Mitch Flanagan,
Yes.
Dean Schloss,
Yes.
Wayne Zacher,
Yes.
Chair Lukaszewski.
Yes, motion passes. Getting back on track in our agenda, we now have an update on the Safe Routes to Services Complete Streets Study with Blue Weber.
It looks like Blue is not on.
Blue is not on. Kim, are you able to step in?
Hey, good morning. I'll do my best. It's hard to fill Blue's shoes, however, so bear with me. I'll let you know that pursuant to the hotspot visitation that we did in August as a steering committee, where we got a couple people movers and went around to view some of the hotspots that had been identified through early analysis. The BMI crew provided some summary sheets for those, and after receiving comments from the steering committee after the hotspot site visits, they refined those summary sheets for each of those. They provided those out to the steering committee for further review, and the steering committee met on October 2nd, provided a lot of great feedback, so the Bolton Mank team went back to the drawing board to incorporate some of that feedback yet into the summary sheets, and those summary sheets will be informing the draft document for this study, which is being prepared as we speak. In addition to the steering committee that took place on October 2nd, there's also going to be a final public input meeting. That's going to be held in Mandan on Monday, October 21st. It will be held at the Morton-Mandan Public Library, and it will be from 4 until 6 p.m. So this will be the final opportunity for the public to come on in. There will be stations set up whereby they'll have visual displays and poster boards kind of walking through how we got to where we are in the project right now. There's going to be a lot of good information there. So I really encourage everybody to get out, come on over to the Mandan or the Morton-Mandan Public Library on the 21st and offer continued feedback on that. There will be opportunity to submit written feedback to the consulting team for about 2 weeks after the public input meeting. So that's not the final input opportunity, but it's going to be a good one. So are there any questions about the Safe Roads to Services study right now? We are on track to have presentations provided to our commissions in December and final report adoption hopefully by this board in December as well. Okay, thank you.
Well, thank you, Kim. Very good job pitch hitting. Item 7 on the agenda is an update with Kurt Kuiper for the 2024 Pavement Condition Collection and Analysis Project. Kurt take it away.
Thanks, Rachel. So we are off to the races. We began collection last week. Roadway Asset Services has one of their laser crack measurement systems out driving the functionally classified roads. I am awaiting an update as far as progress goes. I know they were working over the weekend, but I think they're over 100 miles or so collected, and they should be wrapping up within the next week to week and a half. As we've had some discussions about coordinating a meet and greet with the MPO as well as local media. We are in the process of trying to get that coordinated here with our fleet manager, and hopefully have an update for you guys soon on that front. Within the next, actually this week, we will be reaching out to schedule some meetings to review essentially unit cost data, update our costs for the analyses that we'll be performing to develop network level budgetary recommendations for the MPO pavements, as well as for the city of Bismarck. Other than that, we are just hoping for good weather moving forward to wrap up the collection as soon as possible. And with that, I think I am done.
Thanks, Kurt. Are there any questions or comments on the update? I don't see any questions or comments. Thanks a lot, Kurt. Item 8 on the agenda is an update with Kim on the Government Partners Program.
Thank you, Rachel. The last couple of months, we've really been talking a lot about the Federal Railroad Administration study for their long-distance service. We've been talking to Big Sky Passenger Rail Authority about their project that has been accepted into the Federal Corridor ID program. We've been talking about the Government Partner Program that BSPRA has developed and is rolling out to communities and jurisdictions along the proposed passenger rail service route that is part of their Corridor ID program. So we've had a lot of information coming to us from a lot of different directions. We were very interested in what BSPRA was offering in their Government Partner Program, and they initially approached us with some information in April, which they refined to probably be more complementary to MPOs, as one of our jurisdictions asked if the MPO could actually obtain a membership in the GPP on behalf of the MPO jurisdiction. So they kind of had to refine the parameters of the program to accommodate that, and we're very thankful that they did. In August, BSPRA did provide us information on the Government Partner Program, and after that, there seemed to be some momentum within our jurisdictions in wanting to gain membership with that. Before we could do that, we did need to have approval from our state and federal oversight agencies to allow the MPO to make that purchase on behalf of our jurisdictions. And it isn't just a financial partnership that we would be embarking on. It would definitely be a leadership role for the MPO to assume in facilitating a real coordinated and cooperative planning effort to make sure that in the advent of passenger rail service being reinstated in our region, that we're very, very well prepared. And so the early week of October, the MPO did receive word from Oversight that they would approve such a membership. Interested parties within the jurisdictions were notified on October 4th, and so now we have some next steps that are kind of rolling out in that regard. Right now, the MPO will be amending its current active UPWP for 2024 to include the GPP membership, and the funds will be transferred from, well, actually within one task, to include that membership in our work program. Additionally, each of the MPO's 5 jurisdictions have a jurisdictional representative who will be approaching their governing boards They will be asking their governing boards to provide approval to participate in the government partner program. Some have already done this, and in fact, Burleigh County has approved this action. Now, the total cost of the program is $6,000 per year. The MPO will pay 80% of that cost, which is $4,800, which leaves a $1,200 local match remaining to be paid by the participating jurisdictions. If all of the participating jurisdictions include all 5 of our MPO jurisdictions, their local match breakdown would be Bismarck $720, Mandan $240, Burleigh County $180, and Lincoln and Morton County each $30. Now, if less than 5 jurisdictions would agree to participate, that would change that local match, because the participating jurisdictions would then have to pick up the remaining balance that is not paid by the non-participating jurisdictions. So this is, it is a subscription basis, but it is similar in the cost breakdown to how our studies function, with our participating jurisdictions picking up that local match share. Worst case scenarios then, Bismarck would be looking at a local match of $930, Mandan at $690, Burleigh County at $660, Morton County at $270, and Lincoln at $270. We won't know exactly where this shakes out until all the jurisdictions have weighed in, and we will have notice by the end of October as to who is participating and who is not. Along with the GPP participation, we're also making a request that jurisdictions approve the provision of a letter of support for Big Sky Passenger Rail Authority's Corridor ID program. And that Corridor ID program is to reinstate the former North Coast Hiawatha passenger rail service that uses a BNSF line that passes through Morton County, Burleigh County, and through the cities of Bismarck, Mandan, and near Lincoln. Now, assuming that at least 3 of the 5 jurisdictions do approve participation, and we do need a minimum of 3 to approve, I will then seek the MPO board's approval at the November meeting to go ahead and make the payment for the membership. Along with that, I will have drafted a memorandum of agreement that will be amongst the participating jurisdictions and the MPO, and we will approve that at the November meeting. Then the MPO will submit the payment for the membership and bill the participating jurisdictions. Now, considering the timing that's involved with this, and we're working with a lot of different commission meeting dates and MPO meeting dates, it seems very unlikely that the MPO would be able to make this membership payment prior to December 1st, but we definitely would anticipate having that payment in before the end of the year, and our jurisdictions billed accordingly before year end. I have contacted the BSPRA because they had indicated to us that there was an October 31st deadline to get our membership payment in. I've explained the situation, and they have granted the latitude for working with our timeline, whatever that may be. And then our membership would be 12 months from whatever time period they receive our membership fee. And I do want to remind the jurisdictions that this is not a long-term commitment. The membership is a 12-month membership. It does not automatically renew. That's something that we have to initiate. So as we approach the end of the 12-month period, we can take a step back and we can assess whether this program has benefited us, and if so, to what degree. Is it going to be worth our renewal in 2025 for another membership? And at that time, that question will be brought before all the jurisdictions once again for participation means. Okay. I hope that I've covered everything, but in the event that I haven't, are there any questions or concerns? Chris?
Just going back to the UPWP chart that was provided earlier,
would this subscription fall under office supplies and subscriptions?
Okay, so yeah, we're talking about two different budgets now. So when you talk about the office and subscriptions, office supplies and subscriptions, that will be in the 25 budget. And yes, that will be part of that particular task. When we next talk about making an administrative modification to our current UPWP for 2024, that's actually going to be in task 102, and I'll kind of explain that a little bit further. Anything else?
Kim, do you have any preliminary assessment on participating entities? Do you know if any of the jurisdictions have committed to this yet?
Only Burleigh County. And Burleigh County did approve it for that minimum $180 fee. If the fee should go up, we will have to we'll have to approach the board again with any increase in the fee. But hopefully we can get all 5 jurisdictions on board and maintain that minimum amount.
Thank you.
Ben?
Kim, thanks a lot for your work. You and other MPO members did a lot of work in this, and thanks to our oversight partners, and especially FHWA and NDDOT, and working through this issue with us as well. You mentioned something about getting the approval maybe every year from the local jurisdictions. I anticipate we'll have this on an item at our next city commission meeting for consideration. Would it be acceptable if we just simply ask the commission for allowing staff to use their discretion whether to participate for future years? I guess I'm just thinking, I'm not sure there may be some efficiencies for us if we don't have to go back every year to ask our city commission for this, but would look for your guidance there. What would be acceptable to the MPO?
Well, thanks, Ben. And I would love to have carte blanche, believe me. But because there is a memorandum of agreement that's involved with this, and the participating jurisdictions may change from year to year. I mean, I'm not certain about that. But I think that's going to have to be updated annually at the least. So if your commission would feel comfortable with approving into the next year or allowing MPO staff to make that decision for them, the memorandum of agreement would still come around for their signature. And I don't know if that would be an obstacle or not. Okay. Anything else? Okay. Well, Chair, with your permission, I'll move right into the UPWP administrative modification. Okay, so the next item on the agenda was the administrative modification to include the GPP membership in the current 2024 UPWP. Let's see if I can share my screen here. My share screen doesn't come up, Rachel.
Let's go. Try.
There it is.
There's share.
Thank you. Well, I don't know. Is it a Monday for me? Every day is a Monday when it comes to this computer. Here we go. I'm going to just grab this. Is there a mouse?
Yeah, right here.
Because I just want to grab this and move it down.
Oh, I see.
So I can
down
get
here.
It doesn't matter, just so I can get to present mode. Thanks. There. This is where I wanted to get to. Can everybody at home see this? Wayne, can you see this online?
Yep.
Okay, thanks. Sorry for that delay. Oh, man. Here we go. Okay, so now we'll talk about the administrative modification to the UPWP. Again, we are working in the current year, which is 2024. So we have to go back to having all those separate tasks. And we will be talking about the specific task of 102, which included our training, travel, and education. All we are doing is shifting the designation of these funds for the GPP within the same task. But we do need to show that within our work program to include the government partner program in our current year work program so that we can fund it. So because this is below the 10% threshold of our budget, we can do this administratively and we don't have to do a full-blown amendment. And we're just showing that for in the year 2024, we're taking $4,800 federal share from Task 102, Training, Travel, and Education, Transportation, and Lodging. And we're going to shift that into subscriptions in the very same task. We're able to do this because MPO staff had intended on attending an out-of-state conference this year, which was not held. So we had that money budgeted. And in fact, all the match was budgeted for that as well. And so we're just shifting within that task. It does show the local share breakdown based on all 5 jurisdictions participating in the GPP. I'll keep my fingers crossed and hope that holds. Are there any questions on the schedule for the UPWP administrative modification? Okay. This does not require any formal action. It's for information only, and our state and federal oversight will be informed of this as well. Thank you.
Thanks, Kim. Item 10 on the agenda is the 2025-2028 TIP administrative modifications with Stephen.
Thank you, Rachel. Give me one moment. I will share a screen. So this month, the MPO processed 5 administrative modifications to our active TIP. This is shown in Exhibit G in your packets. In the interest of time, I will not go over all of these. There's simply the modifications are moving 5 projects within the city of Bismarck from funding year 2024 to funding year 2027. We recently did the reverse of this per NDDOT's request in case additional projects were needed to fill out the 24 funding year. But DOT has now indicated this was not necessary, and so we are pushing these projects back to 2027. And from my discussions with Gabe at City of Bismarck, this is what they were hoping would happen anyway. So, yeah, it's again just administrative modifications shared for your reference and information. Do you guys have any questions? Thank you.
Thank you, Stephen. Item 10 is an update on roadway projects. I can't be certain, but I would imagine this might be our last month for being able to provide these updates. And I think I'm just going to go my left to right, and starting with Burley. Dan, I know you're online. I see Mitch first on my left. I'm sorry, we're going to start with Burley County. Okay. Dan, do you have any updates? I don't know if Dan is still on. Mitch, do you have anything
He's
to add?
on, but he had to step away and send a text.
Okay, thanks, Wayne. Appreciate that. Mitch, do you have anything that you could add?
I do not.
Okay, thank you. I think I'll just maybe go back to my list on the page. Next, we'll go to Bismarck. Chris.
Thank you, Rachel. Yeah, we still have a few projects under construction. Our biggest one is South Washington Street, from the drainage ditch down to Burley Avenue. They're making good progress, but they still have a fair amount of work to get done. We're confident the Washington Street will get finished, and then Burley Avenue, the east-west part of the project, we're going to need some dry weather to finish that one up this year.
Okay.
We're also working on Century Avenue at 4th Street and at Washington Street, replacing some traffic signals. Those are moving along well. Those should be finished within the next 2 to 3 weeks. We have a water main being replaced along Wachter Avenue. That one's finishing up within the next 2-ish weeks. And then there is still a Century Avenue. We had done a concrete pavement repair most of the work is finished. They're just finishing up some of the striping at this point. Those are all the projects except for the DOT's projects.
Thanks, Chris. Greg, still nothing for Lincoln? Okay. Yep. Andrew, do you have any updates on the Mandan side?
Our 8th Avenue project is complete behind the high school in Northwest Mandan, and the Highway 6 trail is kind of in the final buttoning it back up for the winter.
Thanks, Andrew. John, I think you might have had an update in the last couple of months. Are you still on? Is there
Yes,
any
I am.
change?
Yep, Northern Improvement started patching our 139A last week, and they should be starting the leveling course today.
Wonderful. Thank you.
Get that paved. So,
Thanks, John. And Dean, the district.
Grant Marsh, they're still waiting for some cure time on the Jersey barriers. Once that's done, then they'll work on the guardrail, striping, and then the lights on the south side. So they're still shooting for November 1st to open that up. 161 is continuing to go on. They're pouring some abutments and pier caps here in the next week. And then they'll be working on the meeting a little bit later the following week. But that one's, not going to wrap up till next year. The bike path on 83 from Calgary to 43rd, they're pretty much done. They just have one pipe they have to fix. It was a design error, so we're waiting for some parts, and then they will finish that one up. So that's about it.
Thanks, Dean. Well, that concludes the roadway projects. We're on to other business. I don't believe staff has any other business. Is there anything that you'd like to bring to the table? Seeing none, I will announce us adjourned. Thank you.
thank you.